Back in 2020, Netflix seemingly, accidentally, tweeted about a brand new Sonic the Hedgehog show coming to their service, and in 2021, we learned the show would be called Sonic Prime, a multiverse show made by Man of Action and Wild Brain, with Wild Brain handling animation and Man of Action handling writing. The show released its first season on Netflix in 2022, and it just finished its final season this January, so timely time to talk about Sonic Prime. Starting with Season 1 of the series, I will say I'm very iffy on it. Sonic Prime Season 1's plot is that after Sonic shattered the Paradox Prism, he ended up splitting his friends into different dimensions and shattering Green Hill. So now he's traveling throughout the Shatter Spaces to pretty much figure out everything that's going on and grab the Paradox Prism shards. Overall, the formula is quite repetitive, per se. The formula works to some extent, especially in the New York dimension with the rebels and such. We're seemingly in a world where Eggman has taken over. That's the wrong set of footage. We're seemingly in a world where Eggman has taken over. And there's a small resistance of rebels consisting of Rebel Rouge and Renegade Nux, trying to fight off the Chaos Council, which are 5 different versions of Eggman. The entire New York Shatter Space clearly had the most effort put into it, especially since we go back to it in the same season. The only issue I do have with it is the Chaos Council. The 5 different Robotniks being an example of Robotnik's 5 biggest personality traits is actually a really cool idea, but the fact they're all generic, one-note stereotypes annoys the hell out of me. But the other Shatter Spaces are iffy. Boss Cage Maze and No Place personally felt like toy fodder. They definitely have their pros, but some of the cons outweigh them by a mile. Jungle People and Pirates just feel like the most childish ideas ever. While I'm personally kind of okay with Boss Cage Maze, mainly because I do like Thorn Rose and her development, No Place was just pirates, and the Dread being one of the most generic, boring pirate characters I've ever seen in a TV show. Overall, the plot of the season was fine, but after a while it just becomes extremely repetitive, with Sonic getting the shard, then teleporting out and losing the shard. It's extremely annoying, and the other Shatter Spaces feel like nothing but toy ideas, bogging down the season a bit. Another issue I have with the show was the amount of stuff left up until Season 2. Why is Sonic always teleporting when he touches a Prism Shard? What happened to Shadow, etc, etc. A lot of stuff is left up to theorize about until Season 2 drop, which personally really annoys me. I know this really has nothing to do with the people who worked on the show, it's more so a thing with Netflix being kind of a shitty company, but it just really frustrated me. Moving on to actual character writing though, it has its pros and cons. We actually don't see many of Sonic's friends in the Prime Dimension besides the cliff note that the show gives through flashbacks. The show really likes flashbacks. This show mainly focuses on the other Shatter Space version of these characters, and I like them, for the most part. Rebel Rouge and Renegade Nux are cool characters. I enjoy watching them play off each other, especially Nux, he's just so cool. 9 is an interesting character too, a Tales where Sonic never was there to help out with the bullying. It's personally an awesome idea, and seeing him warming up to Sonic was pretty cool to watch. The scavengers from the Boss Cage Maze aren't that special if you ask me. They're cool and all, and it's good that Rouge is honestly kind of skeptical of everything in every Shatter Space. I like that as a character trait. But Thorn Rose kind of stole the show. At least Sonic's Prime is doing something with Amy's love of nature. And then there is No Place, which is just whatever. It's just pirates, and I'm sorry, I don't exactly care about pirates. The gimmick here is that they talk funny and say funny words, and the Dread only parties because he's a little bitch, so I'm sorry, I didn't care for this Shatter Space at all. And then there's 2 characters from the Prime Shatter Space that remain. Of course, there's Sonic and Shadow. These characters are both kind of enjoyable. Sonic is very much so in line with his movie self, being a more childlike character who needs to learn to listen to his friends more, but honestly, he's a little annoying. He talks just like way too much and is constantly saying lame shit. It's like if you put Deke Sonic in modern times. He is quite literally at his best when he isn't talking, and sadly, that isn't very often. Thankfully, Shadow is seemingly the strict man against Sonic here, and it works perfectly, with Shadow pretty much constantly being upset with all of Sonic's bullshit. But I don't like him being a complete grump. He's described as a buzzkill, and he's never been seen interacting with the other characters, which is very unlike Shadow to me. He works completely on his own and doesn't hang out with others. I don't like that Shadow is this emo boy who stands all alone by himself and destroying rocks in his free time. Seemingly, that's kind of funny. Overall, Season 1 of Sonic Prime is off to a pretty decent start. Sure, it has some issues with not completing plot points, the other shattered spaces being toy commercials, Sonic being hella annoying in its repetition, but it is an establishing season, and it's still enjoyable for the most part. Moving on to Season 2, though, I think that overall, things are an improvement. The Chaos Council is now in hot pursuit of the other Prism Shards, and in order to use them for themselves. So now it's a race for the shards between Sonic and the Chaos Council, so that Sonic can restore Green Hill. For the first 4 episodes, I was starting to feel a little of repetition, Sonic gaining the shards and then losing them again. But once the other 4 episodes kick in, they actually do something different, with Sonic, Shadow, and 9 all trying to restore Green Hill. The story starts to get a lot more enjoyable, kinda. But I think the overall plot is better in Season 1, the actual writing still bugs me in some ways. New York and its elements are still the same, but they add a new character called Chaos Sonic, and I hate him. I don't care if he is supposed to be annoying. If you end up making an annoying character, I'm gonna find him annoying. He just doesn't ever fucking shut up. This entire action scene is well animated, but his constant talking makes it a pain in the ass to watch. In Boss Cage Maze, I feel the conflict between Thorn Rose and the scavengers of not helping her feels kind of forced, but it resolves itself quick enough to not be too much of a bother. And I still don't care for No Place, but somehow they made it worse by making Dread a villain character. He becomes a generic power-hungry ass villain and is just so unnecessary. Hell, he turns on Sonic before Sonic even asks for the shard, and it just sucks. Sonic and Shadow are essentially the same here, no huge differences from the last season, and I do enjoy their interactions as much as usual. And 9 gets a larger focus here too, becoming kind of a secondary main character, and seeing Sonic and his relationship grow even more is great. Too bad it ends in the biggest plot twist I saw coming. By the end of the series, Sonic and 9 have a misunderstanding about what they wanted with the shards, and so 9 takes the shards back to the Grim with him, and I honestly saw this coming the moment they set it up, which is not a good way to do a twist. It's not really a twist then. But, while predictable, I will admit I was very interested in how Season 3 would handle the cliffhanger. So overall, Season 2 is probably the best the show has to offer so far. No dumb, pointless cliffhangers like Season 1, not as repetitive. Overall, just a great season. Here's hoping Season 3 will be just as good. It will be, right? Season 3 is probably the worst season of the show. The overall plot is that 9 took the shards and he still needs Sonic's prism energy to keep the prism intact. So for the first few episodes, 9 is now hunting Sonic. But after that, the latter episodes are just constant repetition of the characters coming up with a plan to stop 9, failing, fighting, rinse, repeat. It's so fucking boring. Sure, you have the Dread coming to his senses and realizing that his team comes first, and also you have the Roses completing their sisterly arc, but it just doesn't add anything to the season overall. And the ending of Season 3 is just as underwhelming. We never get to see what happens to the other versions of the characters in their world. We don't get to see how the Scavengers and Thorn Rose live from now on. We never get to see the Resistance enjoying their lives. We never get to see Black Rose's pirate adventures. We just see, gotta go fast. And, watching the show as if it's not canon is no big deal. But, turns out I'm lying because this show is canon. This creates an entire host of issues. Apparently this show takes place sometimes after Advance 3, but also Unleashed in colors because Orbot and Cubot are here, which doesn't make sense considering that Sonic already confidently said, Bannock's without flickies. Well, that's new. I can't play it because copyright, okay? Hell, if this is canon, Sonic and Shadow are both pretty out of character. Sonic is a flat character who would never have to learn a lesson like this, and was never this annoying even after Colors. Sure, he told unfunny jokes like this, but I thought we were finally gonna have some damn consistency with this franchise. Shadow is a huge grump with no friends, and he's emo, and he hates Sonic because Sonic is an annoying little prick, which sure, Shadow would totally hate Sonic if Sonic was a prick like this, but he's not supposed to be because this show is apparently canon. These are not the same character, and it fucking sucks. And I have nothing against multiple iterations of the same character, but when you try to tell me that they are the same character, it just falls on its face. Moving on briefly to presentation though, I've got to say that this show kills it in this department. The animation is absolutely fucking amazing in this show with the squash and stretch and the smears all the live long day. This show looks great. And the fight scenes, oh my lord, the choreography in these fight scenes is so damn unreal. And the voice cast does a killer job here too. I think these characters fit their roles perfectly. The music in this show isn't anything special though. No cool opener theme or catchy Letty motifs like Sonic X, it's just kind of regular old cartoon music. Overall, Sonic Prime is a hard show to really love in terms of how you want to watch it. If you can enjoy Sonic Prime like me, watching it like another non-canon cool Sonic project, I think Sonic Prime is overall great. I enjoyed a lot of the characters, the plot was relatively intriguing, the animation was great, and sure, Season 3 was definitely a fall off, but the first 2 seasons did a great job keeping me intrigued throughout. But if you do care enough about the canon of Sonic, like a bunch of Sonic fans, I can get why this show may upset you, and it even upsets me on that front. But for now, I'm just done giving a fuck about the Sonic the Hedgehog canon. It's very clear Sega doesn't care, so why the hell should I?